What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Back again. This is a season 2 premiere, episode 1, The Importance of Black History Month. I am your host, Armond Anderson Bell. Welcome, kings, queens, and those of us royals who identify in between. To the lovers and haters, haters and lovers, judgers, and those who are envious of others. Welcome back to Standing in Your Truth, the podcast talk show that focuses on the diverse panel discussions and highlight interviews of ordinary people doing extraordinary things with and in their lives. I'm back, y'all. So
welcome back.
Yes, we had a little tech difficulty getting in, but I am glad. If you were on earlier, you saw I started us off with a little Black history reading. But my guest today, I am honored and privileged to have Malik and April of Malik's Bookstore here in Los Angeles, and we're just going to have a conversation on the importance. Is it of importance of celebrating Black History Month? So welcome both Malik and April. Thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
It's been a minute. So did you drive all the way over to the other store, April?
I sure did.
Bless your heart, because that ain't around the corner.
I sure did.
Linked up together.
I know, because I didn't know we were going to do 2 separate rooms, but thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
So before we begin the conversation, I'm going to read Malik's book bio, and then we're going to start the question and panel discussion on the importance of celebrating Black History Month. So, Malik's book is a Black-owned independent bookstore that specializes in African-American books, calendars, gifts full of cultural diversity. The total African-American experience of pride, culture, and self-esteem where we give a voice to the voiceless. Malik's Books offers a large selection of diverse children's books because children are 100% of our future. They also specialize in consciousness, hard to find, and hot and bestseller topics of today. All right. Since 1990, Malik's Books has served the Los Angeles community with books and gifts. Malik's Books is your friendly community bookstore. Our mission has always been to use books to educate and uplift the community. Amen. No one lives on an island alone. We all stand on the shoulders of others who helped us along the way. I talked about that earlier. When I was reading your Bible, I was like, they're already what I say, because this is how I was brought up.
Absolutely.
It says, Malik says he has many people in his life who has helped him elevate his growth and success in all areas of life. He says, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. I am reminded of that every day. Malik's book is primarily a bookstore with shelves full of children, inspirational, self-help, cultural, and bestsellers of today, as well as gifts full of positive affirmations. However, Malik's Books extends its mission beyond the stores. Children are 100% of our future. Malik's Books has partnered with Crusader Praise Scott Scholarship to provide freshman and college scholarships. In the last 5 years, CPSF has raised over $20,000 and given out 18 scholarships. Amen. Malik's Books has also partnered with schools, youth, and literacy organizations to promote reading. Malik's book is currently holding a book drive with Equity Through Literacy to give 300 books to kids that live in underserved areas of Los Angeles. Malik's Books also has a website and can be reached at malikbooks.com. The online website has a large array of books that can ship nationwide. And you have 2 stores now, one that has been forever and a day inside the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall, and the second, which is new, is in the Culver. I still call it the Fox Hill. So
I do too.
If you're from Los Angeles, you don't know what's it called? Culverfield, whatever.
Culver City Mall.
Fox Hill Mall. That's what we're gonna call it.
AKA.
So without further ado, welcome Malik and April. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
This has been a journey getting this together. Thank you, April. I met April a few months ago before the last shutdown. I was getting my watches done, and I turned around and I saw the bookstore, and I hadn't seen the bookstore in years, the last time I remember seeing it, like me and April were going back over there, I remember it being downstairs. And if you're going towards, just say where Sears is at, it was on the left-hand side. I remember going in all the time because I would get my Black Enterprise magazines. All the magazines were on the right.
Yeah.
And so I remember going in and getting my magazines and everything like that. I used to go and work with my friend who rest in peace, Q, who worked at Q Cosmetics down the way. So I would always go in and work with him, and the bookstore was like a few stops before there. I had no idea that, you know, that was you guys. And when I talked to you the other day, Malik, I had no idea that you were Malik. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just talking and doing business, and had no idea that you were the man with the plan.
Yes, yes.
So I want to start off with, and you know, we're going to get to the topic, but just, I want to talk about your journey. 1990, that's a crucial time in Los Angeles. Again, I'm born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, proud native of Athens Park, but that was during the time of, I think Malcolm X was coming out a year later. Then we had the riots and stuff. Literacy has always been something that was told to me. I am blessed to have a grandfather and grandmother who had the Encyclopedia Britannica series in the home. So a lot of people that may be on right now, right? But that was our pride, and don't you dare, if you using them, you put them back in the order that they were in. You don't put nothing on your hands. It was a privilege to have that.
Yes,
you know, we nowadays when we think of reading, and again, one of the thesis paper that I did was the comparison of Frederick Douglass's snippet essay of learning to read and write. And I compared it to the allegory in the cave because it talks about us. He talked about in his essay how once he learned and how he tricked the white boys to teach him how to read, you know, with clever tricks. But then he was disheartened because once he learned how to read and write, he realized the full effect of racism. And it kind of put him in the back burner. And as someone from South LA, I realized that was my way out. What was your journey and your goal to start the bookstore?
Well, just off the bat, like you said, books were important. They can transform a person's life. My moment of clarity that started my mission and journey was I had a degree from USC, but I did not have a knowledge of self. You know, and we have a lot of degrees all over this country. We're probably the most educated Black people in the world in America. But that does not mean that you have a degree in the knowledge of self. And it's not taught in the homes because most of us don't know it. And that's what the importance of Malik Books is all about. That was the beginning of my journey, is that I wanted other people to experience what I experienced. I wanted people to transform because I believe if we transform, our community, neighborhoods transform.
Yes, it does.
If we're productive, the community is productive. So I wanted to use books as a way to transform our community and to bring about a higher consciousness, because man must love thyself. You know, I don't believe you can love others if you don't love yourself properly. You know, you know, it's not the other way around.
I can barely hear you, April.
You treat yourself and how you carry yourself.
Amen. That's what I was taught. I above all principles is I love myself enough to treat you well. And what comes with self-respect is that it's not something you have assigned, because when people see you, they should see and feel how much you love yourself, and not in a haughty, arrogant way, but I'm going to treat you well, regardless of who you are, what you do, and how you do it, because number one, I love myself. I want the same to be treated, if anything, above all else. And I try to tell that to people, regardless of differences, because if you like it, I love it. I may not buy into it, but I'm still going to respect you because I respect myself.
Absolutely.
Was there a time, because again, this is, so you've been in the community since 1990. And again, I talked about what Los Angeles particularly was going through at that time. We had, we had the onset of the Malcolm X movie. Then we had the riots, but then also
92 riots. I
oh,
survived the 92 riots.
yeah.
I first opened up on Manchester and Figueroa, and
Ooh.
I soon found out their location is everything
Yeah.
in business.
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
so
to say the least.
so all I did was throw away $22,000 back then. So I paid for my degree doing my mistakes, because that $22,000, definitely was a loss, because that location, one thing I found, demographics, it's very important when you want to establish a business, and it's all about the location. That does matter. And what I discovered, people move like schools of fish. And so, and if you follow their path, so that's what made me move to Crenshaw and King. I said, well, let me move. I didn't, even though I wasn't successful in Manchester and Figueroa, I didn't give up. I still stuck to my mission. And so I relocated on Crenshaw and King Boulevard.
Oh, moving on up.
And so a few years later, the LA riots of 92 happened, and we survived that. A few years later, I moved into the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall, and so in 94. And so I've been in and out of mall since 94. We reopened the mall 2 years ago, Baldwin Hills. A little over 2 years ago, we reopened our location in the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. But, in terms of business, I've been faced with a lot of obstacles over the year, including this year. The pandemic was a challenge, 6 months being closed. So in terms of, there's been highs and then lows. There's been times, brother, we come to work and didn't make a dime, but we didn't give up. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important to see the growth over the years and the consciousness over the years change. After the murder of our beloved brother George Floyd, people woke up in the sense that a movement was created after his murder, in the sense that people are supporting small businesses, small independent Black-owned businesses all over the country.
Not only that, also too, it's young people. Even after Nipsey was murdered, it's young people. That list that he has been talking about for years is young people that really wants to read and dial into who they are. So it's amazing how many young people come through the store and pick up not one book, several books.
Right.
And their intentions are to read them and get something out of them, which is beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, the Nipsey reading list is a transformative list, because it changed his life. And he talked about these books over his life. And so that's why, unlike other people, like, books were very important to him. They changed his life. And he wanted to help change other people's lives. So the Nipsey Hussle reading list is a very crucial, transformative list. And we have a lot of millennials, a lot of old people who are interested in reading and changing their lives and becoming more empowered. And the Nipsey Hussle reading list is a very instrumental in doing that.
Well, I think it's imperative that we realize again the privilege, because reading was not always something that was for our people. And they always try to say, if you want to hide something from niggers, I'm just going to, put it in a book. For me, I didn't get that knowledge of self-awareness until after high school, because in my high school time, reading from the history book, African Americans, we had few places in it. We were slaves. Then we had the marches in the 70s, and that was it. Nothing in between.
And that's all far from the truth. Farthest from the truth.
And so when I got to college and was able to step out and read and be around people, I realized how many inventions are accredited to us that we don't get the credit for.
We have so many of those books here at Malik Books, from child age to adult age, to teach you. And it's no excuses now. It's no excuses. Oh, I don't know. It's no excuses. It's no excuses for not knowing.
No,
Right.
not today. Not today. We got more. Go ahead, my brother.
No, I was going to say is the challenge, because I personally, again, we all are, as we get older and open up to the higher power of our understanding, we realize that we all have a purpose and a mission. And when that purpose and mission hits you, it's a beautiful thing, because no matter what you do and no matter where you run, it's going to keep showing up. And so if you sit back and you have that connection with spirit, you'll realize, oh, okay. And the smallest things, especially as African Americans that were made fun of or people don't understand, you realize that's your purpose. Our gifts and our talents are not to be kept for ourselves, but to be shared with people. I always joke and I tell people, if you have a talent for painting with bird feces, I want you to embrace that talent, because you never know until you embrace it, no one's going to take you seriously. So stepping out and using books helped you as you're helping other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think like you touched on something earlier. You said, like it was a time that we wasn't allowed to read and write, which is a gift from the Creator, to have the ability to read and write that was stripped from us for 400 years. And Black people made sacrifices to learn how to read and write, to change their lives and those around them. And so, a lot of, it's a saying that, that anything that you want to find, you can find it in a book. But then they also say that it's a myth out there that Black people don't read. And that's just what it is, a myth, because Black people do read. And we have a wealth of knowledge that we not only we have read, but we've written. And this world is written with our blood, sweat, and tears. We have a lot of legacy, a lot that we have contributed and offered throughout the centuries of time. And every civilization on this planet is indebted to our struggle and our ancestors and what we brought forth in the world. They trying to write us out of history. Well, I'm gonna say this, Malik ain't gonna let us. Malik is gonna keep on fighting, because we got a voice, and we need to make sure we shout from the mountaintop our legacy. We can't allow them to continue, or anyone to write us out of history and not give us credit for our contributions. We wasn't swinging from trees in Africa and so forth. We came over here as builders, engineers, scientists. And so we have a huge legacy, and Black history didn't start with American history. Black history started with world history. And so we got a lot of history all over this planet that we can discuss and that we should be honored.
It all starts even on back to the paper that we write on is something out of ancient Egypt. Papyrus is what it was called. And if it wasn't for that invention, we wouldn't have the paper that people try to write us out. It's a shame. And again, we are living in a different time. And so I want to do a disclaimer like I always do. The opinions of everyone on this panel discussion is just that. We're talking from our perspective. So it's not to exclude anybody, but we are tired of not being included. And so as we uplift ourselves, we open the door for other races, other, societies, other pride moments. But at this particular moment, we're talking about Black history. And so, it was in college that I got to learn of the inventions that we have, how important a role that we played, that even in the slave trade, there was still works being done, the people who sacrificed. And so I constantly say, again, it was so serendipity that I ran into April when I turned around and I was like, oh, I'm getting my watches done. And again, I felt that when I did walk in, because I get excited. I was telling April earlier, I have so many books, and getting rid of a book to me is blasphemy. It's just, I was one of those kids that I was doing the book reports for my high school. I would read the books, write the reports to give them out to the kids, because of my reading level was such an extreme. I used reading just as that, the escape of what the world was telling me as a Black man, my worth. And so I again, Scholastic, when the Scholastic bookmobile came around the school, it was Christmas for me. I ran with, I collected books, and I told myself as a kid, I want to have my own library of books as an adult. And when I got my apartment, and I have it now, and I have so many books in it, but that is pride, because again, knowing how prideful it is. Again, my grandfather was instrumental in telling me at an early age that you do not have to be a product of your environment. That as long as you have your education, nobody can tell you anything. And that is the foundation that I got from junior high on up until the day that he passed, of having that knowledge and that wealth. Again, I talked about earlier, my great grandmother who lived across the street on my mother's side sat with me. I was already winning essay contests and speeches, but in the 8th grade, she helped me write my Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream, essay. I ended up winning first place, was put in the newspaper, and she was so proud of me. When she passed away about 5 years ago, my great aunt came to me and said, I have something for you. I said, what was it? My great grandmother took the newspaper article and laminated it. And this is it. I'm going to show it to you guys. It is, as you can see, there I go. On the first page. And she laminated it. So this, again, was how proud, because I sat with her. I sat at her feet, and we talked, and we worked out. She pulled out her books and said, this is what you write about. She went over, edited for me. So when I saw, even in her death, I'm 42. So this was maybe like 5 or so years ago, but she kept this. And that lets me know how important that time for. So I stand on her shoulders.
Absolutely.
I call out her name, Lucille Solomon. I call out my grandfather, Henry Harvey Lowe Jr. Those are the people that helped me in being proud of who I am, and that literacy was the way, as well as education.
Yes.
Very touching. Yes, that was very inspirational. You've had that for a quite long time.
Well, no, she's had it. She had it. Mind you, this is in the 8th grade. I think I'm trying to find the date on it. Yes, February 1994.
Yeah, 1994. Yeah.
So that was when I was in the 8th grade. Again, this was from the newspaper article of me being on the front page. She must have cut it and put it in 2 and laminated it for me and kept it. I had no idea she had this until my great aunt was cleaning up her stuff. So I had no choice but to honor and be proud of all of who I am. And literacy is one of those ways to do it.
Yeah, that's very important. That's what we have to do. We have to give tribute and honor to those who paved the way for us today. Yes, we have to acknowledge that. And, we want Black history to be 365 days and not just 30 days. But we can start with the 30 days. The history of Black history started with the 1 week from Carter G. Woodson.
I talked about that earlier. I talked about that earlier, where he started out as Negro History Week, and then and this was 1926, excuse me. And what I learned, even doing research today, because we always joke and say, well, why I got to be in February? It's the shortest month of the month in the year. I didn't realize that he specifically chose February in order to honor Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slave, as well as Frederick Douglass, whose both their birthdays are in February. So that was something, again, that I picked up a book and did more research and learned. Okay. But all this time I thought, oh, well, they just gave us Black History Month in February. It is what it is.
Right.
As we're transgressing and time has gone, did you ever feel that it was a time where books would become obsolete? Because I refuse to get a Kindle. I'm sorry.
Well, over the years, it felt that is the move towards that. I don't know if you ever watched the movie Fahrenheit 451 or read the book, where they eliminated books and you were killed or thrown in jail for having books.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this digital movement that's taking place through this technology, there's an attempt to eliminate paper books, you know, and make everything digital. But we've had, you know, over a decade to compare the difference between the physical and the digital, and they both have their purpose and they both have their place. But you know, I like to have a book, the physical book,
Turn
you know, and turn pages and feel it, and be able to flip the pages. You know,
There's nothing. It's weird, but there's nothing like the feel and the smell.
What is that? All Boys Not Blue, right?
Yes, I just got this. I'm going to go to his live reading next month. He has Jennifer Lewis. He has a few other people that will be reading his book live, and then cross your fingers, I'm trying to get him on the show as well too. But there's just something about the feel and the touch and even the smell of a brand new book.
And you can't replace that. You can't replace that. And there was an attempt, and I think that a lot of people, because we hear it all the time. We have a lot of customers, they come in and it's like, man, I was doing the Kindle, I was doing the electronic digital book for a while, but I need this physical book. We hear it from a lot of people. So there's a place for both, because there's still a lot of people who want to buy a book and just have it, you know, digital and electronic. And that's fine. But I don't think that you can replace something that's been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It has its place. And so at Malik Books, that's what we do. We got physical books here.
and it's so funny, after reading your bio, it really is like you're transported. Like when I read, and I was joking. It was so funny. I was joking with April. I saw all the books. I said, do you have a book called My Uncle is the Drag Queen? And she didn't know I was joking. And she's like, let me look for the book. And, you know, I was just joking because I saw all these different books. The power that we have to tell our own story. Again, the change that we want has to come from us. Yes, I saw, and I need to get up the Cicely Tyson book, and I need to be put on the advanced list for the Sister Soldier book, because I have the other two. I have Midnight and I have the original. Child, if I pulled it out, it is so worn and torn, but I'm excited for the new book. So can you put me on that list?
Yeah. And this book is hot. We got it. We got it at Malik's.
And you
it's
guys
sold
had
out
it
everywhere. But Malik
you guys
Books,
had it before her passing. Rest in peace, Cicely.
Yes.
Rest in peace. That's she left a legacy. She was dignified. She was an angel, you know, and she was an excellent example of a strong Black woman. And we love her. And she laid down a great foundation for many sisters and brothers. You know, she didn't compromise. You know, you never saw her in any role that wasn't dignified. You know, she's a strong Black woman, a strong mother, a strong queen, you know, and we love her for that. We got it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put it on the list. As an actor myself, when I started, I already knew that I had to begin to create things, but then also take part in projects that would not compromise myself. Nowadays we have this whole the need to be seen and stuff like that, and you really have to be cautious, because the projects you do will show up. And you look at anything you do, you look at anything that the late greats Diane Carroll, Lena Horne, you know, the way they held
you also have to understand their struggle, the importance of Black history. Now, I'm quite sure if they could sit here with us, they have stories. They have stories to tell. And I see your thing, you said honoring our past, celebrating our present. And yes, they have stories, and we should be grateful of their past, because what we have today is probably basically giving us a gift. It is giving us a gift. It has given us gifts.
Right.
And I need to piggyback on that, because those stories, that's what this book is all about. Black magic. What Black leaders learned from trauma and triumph. I'm going to be doing an Instagram Live tomorrow, February 3rd, 6 p.m. with this author, Chad Sanders. His book just came out today, but she hit it on the nail. The struggles that so many Blacks had to go through to get to where they at, that we stand on this show. That's what this book is about. And he's talking about that Black magic that Malcolm X had, the black magic that Martin Luther King had, the black magic that Cicely Tyson had. We all have this black man, Frederick Douglass. We all have this black man. What is, so he took the time out to interview these black leaders and get their story and find out their black magic. And they all talked about that struggle. They all talk about what they had to go through to get to where they got, the compromise that some of them had to make, only to find out that they needed to make some changes because, you know, they didn't feel the dignity they wanted. You know what I'm saying? To fit in. Because sometimes trying to be somebody you not
will kill you.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta be you today. You gotta be who you are. Don't be like nobody else. Be you. That's the success that you want, is being who you are.
The legacy that we have and the power that we have, I think it's a disconnect because we don't realize, or we've lost the connection and the family connection of how powerful we are. Somebody wrote, I wish Black history was 365. I go, whenever I walk into a room, that's Black history. The way that I connect, the way that I present myself with simple things, please and thank you, those will never go out of style. You know, having dignity and integrity, whether I'm on a set, you know, something I always, and again, I was raised by my great-grandmother on my mother's side and my grandfather and grandmother on my father's side. I still hear their voices in my head when things go. I communicate with them on a regular basis. And so is this something that they will be proud of? I chose this show. Again, the name was something that I had asked Spirit for. I had a show that was a different format, a different thing, and I'm grateful for it. Lesson learned, experience gained. But on this journey in my life, and I've done acting, I've done, you know, makeup artist, being a drag entertainer, all those things. I'm getting back to what I can do by helping other people. By me standing in my truth and allowing other people to stand in theirs. Last year, I was able to produce 30 shows and had 50 different guests from my home in a time where the industry was just wavering. We didn't know what was going on. And Spirit said, get up. I need you to continue doing the work that you do. Because as I'm doing, because quiet as kept, this is my therapy. You know, I get on here and so I sat and I talked with Spirit, and that's where I came up. That affirmation, that tagline under which says standing in your truth, that is not only my show's affirmation in life, but is mine. Because at 42, I am taking the steps needed to alter my narrative. I'm also embracing my journey because I cannot go forward without acknowledging what happened in the past. Whether I label it good, bad, or indifferent, I'm embracing it. And those two things are helping me change my life for myself. So when I saw it and I talked with you in April, and it was just, again, serendipity. You know, I had no idea. It was funny when I saw April on Friday after I came from the first store to the second. One of my good friends had just left the store. And so I was just like, oh, you know, How May. So shout out to How May Sharp, who's one of my mentors. Again, just having a book, and he comes from a well-educated family as well, too. It's imperial of books. I ride the bus. So there's always a book in my bag. I was telling April, there are times where I'll pull a book off the shelf that I may have read several times, but then I'm in a different space, a different mindset. And so reading it again gives me a different dimension. What were some of the things that you guys are going through or have went through during this pandemic in order to keep, I don't want to paraphrase, but keep hope alive?
We've been through a lot.
Talk about what we did at the house.
I want to do this undefeated because this is what Malik is. Malik Books is undefeated.
Okay.
We kept pushing through this pandemic. Not only just us, we had a whole team of people that supported us that we did not know. We did not know half of these people that that supported us through our GoFundMe, our customers that came in. Even we reopened, they were so happy to see us as we were happy to see them. Okay. So when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, Malik Books, we undefeated. We are undefeated.
Talk about some of the stuff we did, packaging and delivery.
During the pandemic, when we shut down, they didn't allow us to go back into our stores. So what we did is we took our children on, we called them field trips. We would package all the books that we could get on our online orders, package them up at home, and we would take our kids on field trips by delivering the books to our customers.
Okay.
And they were like, "Oh wow, this is so dope." They were so happy to see us. They was like, "Oh wow, you guys are doing curbside deliveries."
Right. The work is always needed and is never done. And speaking of the work and all that you've done, talk about your appearance on the Ellen Show.
Oh, then that was amazing. They really tricked us on that one, and we're so grateful for it though, because if it helped me, I know it did. It helped me feel appreciated that somebody's watching, regardless if you think they're not. They're watching. Somebody's always watching your steps. So be careful with how you move, because if you show something that's not you, they're gonna see that. So Ellen Show, it helped me with feeling appreciated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of times you waver from your gifts because it's so, again, I didn't know I wanted to do this show this year. Last year I complained, even putting this particular show together, I said, Lord, I want to know, is it worth doing this show? Is Black History important, important? And then people came out, because sometimes you don't feel it. And I think that's, for me, that's when Spirit nudges you just a little bit more to keep holding on. When you want to give up, something will come your way. And again, our time as human beings is not the same time as Spirit. So we want things, we want it how we want it, when we want it, and how we want it. And sometimes we just have to sit back. And I thank everyone who commented on the post during the week, who has held me up during this year as well as last year, because when you're on your purpose, there's so many distractions. The slightest thing, and again, we live in a society where everyone has 10,000 followers. I'm not trying to get that, because I don't even know 10,000 people. I had to be okay with saying the numbers are not there, but again, I'm doing it for me. If no one was to watch,
doing the work.
Yes.
Spirit says do it anyway, because you never know. And the joy that I have knowing the honor and the shoulders that I stand on, putting this together and having this conversation. I'm working on projects, like I was telling April the other day, on working on Black men and our trauma, because it's something that we don't talk about. I looked all over the store and I didn't see anything. Even when we were talking about the mental health book, we need that from a man's point of view. I get it, women and ladies, but the Black man's trauma is something sacred, and I want us to begin to unpack that and not be shamed, to realize that we have trauma, because we go through life and it happens and then we sweep it under the rug. So that's projects that I'm working on. Spirit has led me to work on trauma in the Black community with men and putting an anthology together.
Yeah.
You want to piggyback off that, Ellen?
Yes.
Oh, the Ellen, that was an emotional roller coaster. Man, we were just so elated. Did you mention that the fact that we didn't even know we was going to be on the show? We thought we was going to be on the webcast. The Ellen too. And that's fine. We was excited for that, just to be on the Ellen too. And so when we went live, we were on the show. We had no idea. So it was a genuine surprise. The whole show with DJ Twitch. He really showed us love, and we can't thank him enough. Very appreciative to him for reaching out and assisting us in our journey and our mission, and they help us in this time of need, because all over the country, as you know, bookstores are affected because of this pandemic, and many of them are struggling, and so we're grateful that so many people came to our aid to support us. And we just look at that as God rewarding us for the many years of long sacrifice, work that we've done for so many years. We just believe that God, showed faith, and we're thankful.
Yeah, it's about being obedient. Even when you don't know what's going to happen, you say, okay, Lord, I'm going to do what you say. Because again, it's that nagging voice that will continue until you do what is your mission or your purpose. And it's like, okay. And again, we as human beings, we want what we want, when we want it, and how we want it. But we just have to step back and let God, or the higher power of our understanding, work its magic. In your experience, what do you think are some of the things, because a lot of times we see generational gaps. and you know, we come from different generations. What are and again, we can all day long place the blame game. This
Right.
generation did this, but instead of doing that, what do you think? Can we meet somewhere in the middle? Because again, being able to read is such a privilege.
No more blaming the day. There's no more blaming the day. This is 2020.
21.
and we are the most educated Black people in the world. And we know more today than Frederick Douglass
Mhm.
and those in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. So we have enough information before us that we can move forward and not have an excuse.
Mhm.
See, we already know you got certain environmental and social and racial discrimination. You already know that. You already know that those things are in society. But does that mean that you can't win?
No.
Does that mean that you can't be successful? Because we've had so many that we can show you that have.
Right.
And so we got to stop giving up. So I think today it's more important for us to realize that this is a great time to be living and a great time for us to be successful in whatever we dream. One of the things I always say is that imagination is the key.
Mhm.
Is that you can have a lot of money and still have no imagination, and therefore you don't know what to do with the money.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you got to have imagination, and I don't think money is the issue with us any longer. I used to think, oh, no, we don't. We got 1.3 trillion. We're consumers. It's what we're doing with the money. I'm talking collective, because individually we got incredible individuals that have been at the pinnacle of success. In fact, you know, we can talk till we blue in the face on that. We had a Black president, you know, we revolutionized George Washington Carver revolutionized the peanut industry, which was a major contribution to the federal debt because they learned how to make another product, and it helped the United States get out of debt. We've had entertainers that have been at the pinnacle of stuff, like, you know, Beethoven and some of the greats that we've had, like Prince and Michael Jackson, you know, some of the legends. We've had, you know, engineers, we've had scientists, we've had it all individually. What we have to do is move collectively.
Right.
And we have to find a way to pull our intellectual talent, our financial, you know, because economics is the key and unity is the key.
Mhm.
We got to unite as you know, and what I learned in life is that there's always more than one way to walk up a mountain.
Mhm.
And it took me a long time to understand that, because a
Right.
lot of times we get stuck in our own path and our
Mhm.
own walk, and we don't see other people's walk and other people's struggle, and we don't acknowledge it because we too caught up in our own. And so there are many paths walking up a mountain. Now there might be a path that's shorter, there might be, and then other paths are longer. But guess what? Everybody can get to that top though. And
Right.
so we have to acknowledge that we can collectively work together, and that's where we'll create the legacy that we need to pass on, so that we don't have to start from ground zero every generation. We have, you know, at the root of like I said, you know, we have to find a way to unite our intellectual, our resources, and work together, you know, and we got to stop, you know, there's no I and, you know, and no you when you're working together. It's teamwork, make the dream work.
Right.
And so we got to learn to work collectively and build for a greater future. I always call it a generation of change is what we desire. Like Malik, you know, a lot of things I do is for the next generation to change. You know, like this book,
Young, Gifted, and Black.
Young, Gifted, and Black.
You have that one, Armond?
You mean this book right here? Not this book. And it's so funny. I got the green screen in the back, so that's why it looks like this right here. But you mean this? Yes.
Yeah.
That was something that was imperative that I knew. I think that's where we're lost, because the villagers and the heads of the village are no longer here, or for some reason we've lost, or we need to reclaim our kingdom and our queendom. We walk with our heads held high, and we walk with just pride. Even if you don't say a word, I was taught when you walk into a room, they will say, there's something about that person. You know, there's something about that person. You walk with your head held high and not being ashamed of anything. And I think that's where it is. We've lost that connection to realize that we can be. The examples are there. You know, I think when what happens, and I'm working on it myself as well, but self-doubt and self-sabotaging again are rampant. And I ask myself, okay, doing this podcast, even if no one watches it, and I look at inventors, I look at people who have made waves in community. When you look at McDonald's, I'm pretty sure Burger King didn't ask permission to build their restaurants, neither Wendy's nor Five Guys. And I use that example to say, if it's something on your heart, do it. Don't wait, because even if there's 5,001 people doing the same thing, but you have something that is needed and you have something that is wanted. So don't doubt that. And that's where we have to build that foundation of self-love. We have to build that foundation of trust within ourselves to know, okay, it is what it is. If spirit, and again, it's a difficult thing because I'm working on it myself, but going back and forth and saying, okay, spirit, this is how,
No, we still here.
Okay. Oh, come on in the room. Come on in the room. Yes. And this is the Fox Hill Mall's location. Look at that. Look at that. I'm looking at that young adult section right there. Now,
okay, let me switch the camera back around. I don't know. How do I switch the camera back around? Hold on. Which one is it?
That's I can see the Black Panther in the background. I can see, I wanted to show you guys something else that I find very interesting. At 42, I still love a good coloring book. I'll wait till I can see you guys, I can show it to you.
75 feet of Black history.
Oh, I like that hair book.
Yeah.
Oh, William Tyson, okay.
Books.
Thurgood Marshall, W.E.B. Du Bois.
Hottest book out.
Okay.
Wow, I'm right. And look at all the beautiful children books. See, and just to give you a panoramic on the store, Black history lives at Malik
every day.
Books.
We are Black history. We're Black history, present and future.
We are. We are. We just had to take you on a brief tour.
Well, I thank you, because again, it gives, for those who are watching who are blessed enough to live in the Los Angeles area, realize that we have access to you in 2 different locations. Now that we've just opened up, the malls are open. And again, don't talk about it, be about it. Take the time and go. And even if you can't go, the website is accessible. You ship nationwide. So there's no excuse on not having something to do. One thing that I love, again, I love Crayola crayons. Are you guys familiar with these World of Color crayons?
No.
They are so beautiful, so that they have, these are the different color tones. I'm trying to, because of the light. But Crayola crayons, they're called Colors of the World, and they have 32 different colors with skin tones. Because I remember growing up, and the only color I had to choose was the dark brown. I used the peach or apricot to color white people.
Wow.
This has eye colors. A friend of mine who is white was saying that her daughter's coming of age and was wondering, because we have different multicultural friends. So I went online and I saw this, And this is so beautiful.
I'm having to
It's
do
so
some research on
Yeah.
that.
yeah, I got them from Walmart. They're like under $2, but it's 32. It's called Colors of the World. Some of the
That's
colors under
imagination.
here, it's so beautiful. You have deepest almond, extra deep golden, extra deep rose, extra deep almond, very deep almond. These are all different colors you can use for skin tone. So I can't wait to show you some of the pictures that I do with the coloring book that I brought the other day. I specifically brought them so that I can use these colors and share the difference. Again, representation is important, but we have to be diligent and being present in the room. And again, like I was taught at an early age, if you don't see something, be the change that you want to see. Like trust and believe, like we were talking about that book, it's in the making. Spirit has led me to do workshops to talk about Black men's trauma, to do this anthology. So the next time I look and want to see a book about Black men and mental health, I'm going to do it because I'm tired of not seeing it. And again, it's no longer at 42 asking myself why, but why not? That's where I'm at now. So
Well, we, Malik Books, Malik and April, would like to thank you so much for
thank you.
taking the time out to do this with us. And I hope to see you in the store soon.
Oh, you already know. You already know. I got
As
I'm
well as
definitely-
everybody listening.
Yeah.
Go to
So
malikbooks.com or come
yes,
to see us at Baldwin.
phonetically spell that out for us, please, if you don't mind.
It's MalikBooks.com.
Mhm.
And you can do it on social media at Malik Books. And we have Malik Books 1 and 2, one in the Baldwin Hills Mall. That's 3650 Martin Luther King Boulevard, suite number 245.
Right
That's
next to Macy's
right
in the
there.
back.
Yes, second floor. And then we have the Culver City.
Culver City, Fox Hills Mall.
Fox Hill Mall.
Yes,
Yeah.
6000 Sepulveda Boulevard, Suite 2470, Culver City, California. Second floor next to Seas Candy.
Again, I want to thank you guys. We have been going back and forth. I hope I didn't over communicate with you guys because, I'm diligent and I'm like, I want to make sure, and like I said, we talked back before we did the last shutdown. I think that was November, or it was before Thanksgiving. So when I saw you, so I knew, again, spirit and serendipity would lead me to place. I'm like, okay, this is the perfect topic for you guys to come on and share the importance. My next show I'm working on is the LGBTQI community and our contribution, as well as to Black history, because a lot of people don't know of Bayard Rustin, who was Dr. Martin Luther King's Jr. right-hand man. Normally around this time, I always do a lot. This year, I was blessed and honored. His birthday, which is January 15th, is always celebrated the third Monday of the month. So this year, our birthdays were together. I'm born January 18th. So I always, over the years, I always find the pride in that. And unfortunately, we did not have the King Day Parade, which I've been part of several years. I remember that one year we did the parade and there was a shooting in the mall, and we, but that was always something our community took pride in, is the King Day Parade. Unfortunately, we didn't have it this year. But I thank you guys for coming on and sharing your knowledge again. I'll put the information, because I definitely want to be part of the Zoom tomorrow. And then please, again, support Black-owned businesses, support literacy. Just support is important to build the community that you want to see. You were talking about that you guys are partnering with a literacy program. Are you guys helping people with reading? Because I've always wanted to be part of something where I took, and the thing is, there are adults who do not know how to read, but because of shame and stigma will not reach out. So I want to make it so that we take that stigma away, and help people learn how to read.
That idea, hold on to that idea. We'll talk about that, the adult one.
I'm here.
Okay, another time.
Whatever you
Hold on
need,
to
because
that.
I've always wanted to do, and I was working on a program that does it in the library, but then it faltered, so I never communicated with them. But again, that is so important, imperative, to have that skill, because again, reading opens the doors for so many things. You won't be able to sign a contract, you know, whether you're in the end, and we see how that's gone. I ain't gonna say no names, but we see the celebrities, you know, that get, you know, raked over the coal. And because I read, are you sure you want give me 5 minutes and let me read this contract? Because there's something, and they'll throw it in there. It'll be in the smallest print. Again, when you have an access to reading, the world opens up to you. So again, I want to thank you both for your dedication, your community since 1990 of being in the community. For all those who are listening and watching, please support, whether it's online, whether it's in person. You have 2 locations, and you also have a World Wide Web to show your support. No excuse.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
You guys have a wonderful night. And again, I always want to leave everyone with the final thought. There are 86,400 seconds in any given day. Choose wisely what you do. Choose diligently, affirmatively, and cautiously of the things that you do. With that being said, until we meet again, stay blessed, stay prosperous, and stand in your truth no matter what it is. Everyone have a good night. Thank you so very much.
All right.
Bye-bye. We'll talk soon. Thank you, Malik. Thank you, April.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.